Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about how to draw Lewis dot diagrams for molecules that require more rules than the ones detailed in my previous video. The previous video explains many of the steps that I skim over in this one, so you should definitely watch that video first. When drawing a Lewis diagram and you get to step 8, but each atom does not have a complete octet, we have to consider some additional rules. First, boron atoms do not need an octet. They are fine with just 6 electrons. Second, sulfur atoms do not need an octet. They are fine with 8, 10, or 12 electrons. Third, atoms that are still deficient in electrons can get what they need by forming double and triple bonds with neighboring atoms. This first example molecule, carbon dioxide, or CO2, will require double bonds. What you see here is a graphic organizer that I use to help me with Lewis diagrams. My previous video shows how to use this graphic organizer. At this point, I'm on step 6, where I need to draw my skeleton Lewis diagram. The skeleton needs to have 3 atoms and 1 bond between each atom. Carbon will be the central atom in this diagram. Carbon is the Lone Ranger, meaning there is only 1 carbon versus 2 oxygens, and the Lone Ranger always goes in the middle. After I use 2 bonds for my skeleton, which are 2 electrons each, there are 12 remaining electrons I need to distribute. I use the electrons to fill the octets of my outer atoms first, and then it appears that I've run out of electrons. Let's take a moment to look at this molecule as is. This oxygen has a full octet, and this oxygen has a full octet. But this carbon is deficient. It only has 4 electrons, and it needs 4 more. This is the point where carbon will need to form double or triple bonds with its neighboring atoms in order to get to 8 electrons. Remember, every line or bond represents 2 electrons. And here, each oxygen has at least 2 electrons that they can use to make an additional bond with carbon, which is good news because carbon needs 2 additional bonds to get 4 more electrons. Both oxygen atoms will donate one of their electron pairs to form a double bond with the carbon atom. Now, if we check each atom to see if it has the electrons it needs, everything looks good. This oxygen has 8, this oxygen has 8, and this carbon has 8. This second molecule, nitrogen gas, or N2, will require triple bonds. At this point, I'm on step 6, where I need to draw my skeleton Lewis diagram. The skeleton needs to have 2 atoms and 1 bond between each atom. After I use 1 bond for my skeleton, there are 8 remaining electrons I need to distribute. I fill the octets of 1 atom first, and it appears that I've run out of electrons before completing all of the atoms. Let's take a moment to look at this molecule as is. This nitrogen has a full octet, and this other nitrogen does not. It needs 4 more electrons to get to 8. This is the point where the deficient nitrogen will need to form double or triple bonds with its neighboring atoms in order to get to 8 electrons. There is only 1 neighboring atom, but it has at least 4 electrons that it can contribute to additional bonds. The neighboring nitrogen will donate not just 1, but 2 pairs of electrons to form a triple bond with this other nitrogen atom. Now, if we check each atom to see if it has the electrons it needs, everything looks good. Both nitrogen atoms have the 8 electrons they need for their octet. That's all there is for this video. I hope it is helpful.